She's an on-camera wife.
No, she just literally snuck it past it under the desk to me so I could pour it up before we went.
Excellent. All right, I believe this will be online now.
And I poured the rest of it in a glass because Miller Lite didn't pay for this shit. We're not giving them free advertising.
All right, well, that was online.
Was it really?
Yes, of course. All right, what a wonderful way to start the panel. Yeah. All right, so welcome to the Terra Nova Hour.
So I love that.
Welcome to the Terra Nova Hour, and this definitely sets the tone of Terra Nova. We are joined by Mike Hickey, who's the idea man and one of the main authors behind Terra Nova, this wonderful book right here. He was joined by 11 other authors. You have notes in yours. That's interesting. Okay.
I flag stuff for potential times I need to, like, I picked out the 4 things for the when we were doing the launch party. I had flagged 4 sections that I was in, like, up for reading, and so I flagged those. Why am I still getting? I turned off notifications there. I flagged those. God damn it, Matt, that's you. I flagged the 4 things that I was like kind of hemming and hawing on reading, so that I could quickly find them, and I have left them in that copy of the book. Because there's probably going to be other things. I think there's definitely going to be other things where there might be some readings. So I figure I'll keep them flagged for the future.
All right, cool.
I have notes and stickies in my copy. One of my copies. I have several.
Awesome, great. So
bestseller by other people buying it. I'll tell you that. No.
All right. Well, Terra Nova has been out for a few weeks now. It came out. It's only been out for 12 days.
No, it's wild, right? It seems like so much longer than that.
Yeah, no, it's almost out of its initial print run, which is insane because that means I need to order more for like the holiday season, because as much as I'm sure it was big for Halloween, it'll have some sales during the holiday season too. So now the stress is on to get the postmaster on the go really quick. But it's a wonderful book with a really cool concept. Some of the other authors, I think, are going to be dropping by at some point. But I just wanted to talk to you a bit about it first. There's no structure to this. I don't have planned questions or anything like that. Just how did you come up with this thing that everyone's jumping on right now and think, because it's taking off? Like, people agree this was a cool idea. How did you come up with this madness?
I mean, I don't know that I did. I think that we did. This was something that you and I sat down and talked about. I love that old horror style of storytelling where part of the story is the story. You know, like, I love the idea of the framing device that's also kind of part of it. And that seemed like a really fun thing to do. So when you and I got to talking about collaborating in some way and me doing something with Engine and it being a horror anthology, doing something where I wrote a wrapper that tied everything together and then kind of became part of it as well, just seemed like the way to do it. And it seemed really fun. And I know it's not the way it was something I thought was way more common in anthologies than it was. Like, like it's something that to me, it was like, oh yeah, like I've definitely seen this a lot, but it's something that like you get a lot in like TV series or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily play in a book the same way. And so,
which is strange because it's the format of one of the most famous literary works, Canterbury Tales, but like that's written by one author and famously was never finished. So but it's interesting. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, but yeah, it's something that seemed like it was a really common thing, and it isn't. And so as people were coming together and the story started coming in and stuff, it just kind of found its place. And my story at the end, not Terra Nova, but the town that tore itself down, was something I've been working on for a long time and just hadn't found. I had been picking away that story for years and knew what I wanted it to do, but didn't know how to resolve it until Terra Nova came around. And so it was just a really fun way to kind of explore all those different things.
Yeah. So you wrote the wrapper, right?
Yeah. How long have you? I wrote the foreword and the afterword and the wrapper. And
how long have you been into hip hop? No. And I suppose the wrapper, as in book terms, we call that a framing narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, but it's the framing narrative that wraps around everything else, but it intertwines. And so, I mean, the easiest way I've been finding to describe it when people kind of ask me what's up, like I had a bunch of books in the back of the car after hockey the other night, and the guys were like, "What the hell is this?" And I was trying to tell them because we were having beers in the parking lot because it's COVID and we're not allowed to drink in the locker rooms anymore.
You're also not allowed to drink in public, Mike.
Yeah, it's a parking lot. It's different. They tell us it's different. But anyway, we're talking to the guys about it, and the way I described it was like, I wrote a novella, and in between each of the chapters of the novella is a story, and the novella references the chapters that pop up, or references the stories that pop up between each chapter. And that's still convoluted, and people still don't know what you're talking about, but it's the easiest way I've found to describe it so far.
It's an amazing way to write 16,000 words and get the credit for writing 70,000 words. It's just
20,000 words. It was 20,000 pretty much on the nose.
It was
weird. Yeah, it was weird. And I think you came back, it was like, take the word count down. And I took it down by like 20 words.
Yeah, of course. All right. Oh, we have a special surprise guest that I think is going to pop in. It's Paul Carberry. Oh, it's a mummer. I'm sorry. 1 second. It
is Paul Carberry.
It is.
The name. See,
Paul, it's given away by the name.
Yeah. I got your name is like supered in the bottom corner there. So like that doesn't, that cheats the whole mummering thing.
Okay, but like anyone not familiar with Newfoundland culture who doesn't know what a mummer is going to see that and be like, why is Paul Carberry dressed as that particular thing?
Right.
I just want to pop in and say hi, guys.
Excellent.
Dude, it was so thanks again for being part of this. It was so much fun. I love your story so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. It was a great story. The Christmas mummers thing has been such a thing because the scary mummers, let's call it, because mummers are currently scary.
Yeah, they are. There's quite a few shorts, like videos on it now, like short movies.
Yeah. Friends of Mike Hickey, I think, actually did a short film.
The guys from Grind might have done one already. They're doing another one soon called Mummering Legends, which is being done through the Picture Star program with NIFCO. So that's a bigger deal, and it's going to be coming out next year. Nice. They were supposed to have a shot already this year, but then this year happened. And then there's another group. Oh my gosh, Lovely Mummers is the name of the film. It's a filmmaker, Bhavik, he's from I believe he's from India, grew up in Twillingate, and then moved to BC. And so he's based out of BC now. But he came back and made a movie called Lovely Mummers a couple of years ago. So there's been a couple mummer short films and stuff that people are exploring it and kind of going, oh yeah, mummers are freaking terrifying.
Have you ever mummered either one of you in real life?
Yeah. Not like not like real mummering. I did it as like I worked for a theater company, and we had to do it as part of like the dinner theater.
I did it in real life because I'm from a very small outport where my family's from originally, and it was just so normalized. But I don't think until you get older and you kind of look back, even without the whole masks and scary stuff and all that kind of craziness, the idea of, because people forget the rest of the tradition, like people think of it as just, oh, dress up and go. The whole thing is you dress up and you go to someone's house and they have to give you alcohol until they can guess who you are. They have to give you free booze until, and thankfully, because I'm so short, everyone recognized that they shouldn't give me free booze. But I have to wonder how many like underage people in history, how this started. Like, something tells me it started with a bunch of underage kids going, you know what we should do? We should go mummering and not tell people that we shouldn't drink.
But I mean, it goes back long enough that like there was no such thing as underage.
That's fair.
Fair. It's just you drank. You started drinking at 6.
Yeah.
You were hard on.
Well, you've had a hard day at work.
You were a recovering alcoholic by 17.
Yeah. Absolutely. Paul, is there any more coming out because people might read the short story in Terra Nova and not realize that there was a short story before that in Chillers from the Rock that deals with the same kind of stuff. It's not really a sequel, like you don't have to have read one before the other. We wouldn't have done that. But is there more coming from the let's call it scary mummer Carberry universe?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a detective kind of like procedural where they investigate both murders and try to solve it, and obviously have a element of horror in there as well.
Awesome.
That sounds so cool, man.
Awesome. Well, feel free to stick around, Paul. But thanks so much for coming. Just in case you do.
I gotta go explain to Leah what happened to the pillowcase.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Well, wish Leah a happy birthday for us. Happy birthday on the live stream, Leah, who Paul keeps like leaving her birthday to come down to different live streams. Well, thank you very much, Paul. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Have fun.
All right. Cheers, buddy. Thanks again.
Oh my. There we go. Yeah. Paul's a great guy. Yeah.
He is, and I love that story so much. And again, it's just like mummers are terrifying. They're inherently terrifying. And something that I found real, the whole thing with there's like a Rumpelstiltskin thing to mummers that I really like about.
There is. I know about that.
How all their power comes from their anonymity, and it goes away as soon as you get their name, and as soon as you know who they are, they're basically powerless. And that's kind of the way it breaks down. And I love that about them. I think it's such an interesting thing that, Paul it kind of comes out in Paul's story a little bit. And yeah, it's just, that to me is always kind of the fun part of the mummering legend, that if you're going to do it, it's that anonymity is what really is the source of their power per se.
That's really interesting. And that's true. I never thought about like kind of Rumpelstiltskin-esque. I always think of it as like Newfoundland Halloween, but now that I'm older and I know the alcohol part of it, I can't help but think of it as like, what if Halloween, but instead of candy, booze?
Yeah, no, it's very much adult Halloween.
Yeah.
It's, and that's...
But kids do it too, and that's a problem.
And that was it. That was never my experience, right? Like I never, because I grew up in Grand Falls, Windsor, which, was a little bit of a bigger town. So, hey. You've read the book, I feel about some other places. But yeah, I grew up in a bigger town in terms of Newfoundland. And so it wasn't really something you did, like you didn't really go door to door mummering just because it was, it was kind of weird. I think we probably had mummers a couple times come through, but it was never something we did. And it wasn't until, I spent years as an actor and worked in theater companies and would have to dress up as mummers and dance with American tourists that I really understood the horror of mummering.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's also just like, I remember a story. This is a real story from when I was mummering in a very small town around the bay. It's apropos of nothing, but just very, very strange. Like when you wear the sheet, like when Paul did, sometimes all you can see is like the eyes. And I remember a very specific time that someone was trying to guess who I was and looked at me. And this happened a few times actually, to the point where it's a weird family thing. It happens to my mom as well. But they'll look at you in the eyes and they'll say like, "You're Matt LeDrew. I can see the devil in your eyes." And I'm like, why is that a thing people say about my family? I could see the devil in your eyes. I'm like, thanks, man. Asshole.
I still remember one time, and apropos of nothing as well. I remember one time where it was just like I met somebody and they knew my dad, and they were just like, "You're Tyrone's son, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "I can tell you got bedroom eyes like your father." And I was like, first of all, what the does that mean? Like, how is like that? That's way creepier than the devil in your eyes. I was just like, hang on.
Whoever that person is, absolutely slept with your
like
father.
18 or something. I was like, what the hell is this? It was so weird.
Great. That's a wonderful thing to say to a young man.
Yeah, it's so strange. And it was like, and it was like a friend's mom. It was the weirdest thing. It was so strange.
Cool. Ask your dad sometime how they became friends.
I think they're cousins. That's the weirder part.
This is why we we can't do live streams, the two of us, all the time, because it just immediately
this
goes
is
off the
special.
rails.
This is gonna happen this one time, and then they're like, never again.
Yeah,
We need to
absolutely.
be edited all the time.
Oh yeah, no, I love how earlier in the last panel that for Engine Con, the genre writers one, John Dobbin let a curse slip accidentally, and it's like imperceptible almost kind of thing. And he was like, "Oh my god, I cursed," and we're here like just whatever.
I know, and I keep trying to stop myself. I keep trying
Why?
to catch myself. I don't know. Can I? Like, am I?
Yeah, this is a Terra Nova one. This is not. We're not doing this for like a YA book.
It's not that much bad language in Terra Nova.
No, I think there's a couple F-bombs, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a couple for sure.
And that's always interesting because like I'm not sure what the rules are for books. There's no like rating system for books or anything like that. Like it's not like the Motion Picture Association of America.
In movies, you are allowed up to two.
I thought it was 1 for PG-13.
Yeah, here's the thing. You're allowed a second one if it references the first one.
Ooh, interesting.
So basically it's like you can you're allowed one, and then well, she said that you're allowed that. And so you can get away with 2 for PG-13.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, you're allowed the second one if it references the first one.
But I'm not sure what you're allowed in a book because like what's to stop the kid from just going back and reading it over and over again? Look,
dude.
Yeah.
People look, how many people do you know that say like, "Oh, I read it when I was 13 years old." And you're like, "You should not have read it when you were 13 years old."
No, you should not. Reading something you're not supposed to is like a rite of passage. I mean,
it's the same thing with watching horror movies that you're not supposed to when you're too young.
I would argue that some horror movies are appropriate for no age. Like, dear Lord, like, whoosh. Some of it, I'm squeamish.
I was waiting for you to drop one and me to judge you based on the movie that you thought was inappropriate at no age.
Jason X, appropriate at no age.
No, but I mean that is not appropriate. It's just a bad movie.
That's why it's inappropriate. It'll rot your brain.
It's different. Like you could say something like, like a Serbian film is a movie that's just like inappropriate no matter what. But it's not, Jason X is just a bad movie.
Yeah. Is it though? I feel like you should like write a dissertation on like why Jason X is secretly the best in the franchise and the best horror movie ever made.
Number 6, Jason Lives is the best in the franchise.
I see. All right. What about Nightmare on Elm Street? What's the best in the franchise?
I think the first one. I really like the first one and New Nightmare. I mean, a lot of people are all in on Dream Warriors, but I love New Nightmare because it's such a reinvention and it was like a very nice precursor to Scream and all the meta horror that Wes Craven kind of ushered in at the end of the 90s.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I really like New Nightmare actually.
But we have 40 minutes to talk about our book, and you don't want me to start on Wes Craven and the meta horror of the late 1990s.
Don't I?
Well, not right
I feel
now.
like we do. All right. So I'm thinking there should be a sequel to Terra Nova. What are we going to do for? I mean, we already kicked around some ideas of what the framing narrative would be and stuff like that. And I think those ideas are good. I kind of want to take my hand at writing something. I don't write a lot of short fiction, but I've got a couple ideas kicking around that I think could be good. Maybe work with you on the framing narrative or something like that to take a bit of it off you and kind of like co-do it or something like that. Figure it out. Do we do Terra Nova 2 or do we do like Terra Nova : or what do you do? Volume 2? What do you do? Honestly, like what's the horror way to go?
I mean, it really depends. I mean, it can be anything. And especially with some of the different things we were talking about in saying that it might not be a direct continuation of the book. It can be something that, again, talking about meta horror, it can be something that maybe references the book and it's in the wake of the release of the book, it really depends. And so, I mean, that's something that, we have
time.
We have 8 months to figure out.
Well, not really. We can't just be solidifying the idea then. But yeah, no, I hear you.
But I mean, like, we can.
I do. I know
where
What would be a really on brand for a horror franchise to do is to call the second one Terra Nova the final chapter and then release 10 chapters afterwards.
That's certainly a possibility to do. Because Friday the 13th did part 4 was the final chapter, and they've done 8 since.
Yeah.
7 since. They're up.
Good.
The next one would be Friday the 13th part 13, but they haven't made it, and it's been caught up in a bunch of shit.
Why haven't they made Friday the 13th part 13? That seems just like a no-brainer.
The guy who wrote it, the guy who wrote the first one, basically was just like, I don't like where this went. This wasn't my intention. And he sued for the rights to the characters and the names and stuff. And so it's been tied up in court for years.
That's fair.
But he waited until the reboot came out to go like, oh no, like now's the time.
Yeah.
Because I think that might've been it. I think it was like when the reboot came out, and the reboot took from not just his first movie, but like the first 4 movies to make what the reboot was.
I didn't even watch it.
I really like the reboot of Friday the 13th, and I will stand by that, and people will get mad at me for it, but I really enjoy that movie. And I think it's a really good condensed version of the first 4 movies of Friday the 13th. And
see, but that in itself sounds scary to me, because like I still haven't watched the Dark Tower movie, let's say, even though I love those stories so much that I wrote my honors thesis on it. But the second I was like, but like it's not really based on it, and it kind of condenses the 7 books into one in some way.
But that's the thing, is you're talking about condensing 7 books. You're talking about condensing 7 books into one 90-minute movie versus condensing 4 movies, where as soon as the second one came out, it kind of abandoned all of everything that followed. The like part 2 on was Jason, right? And Jason doesn't get his mask until part 3.
Yeah.
So everything you know about Friday the 13th kind of took until, and it's part 4 before you kind of go, okay, he's really unkillable.
You know what?
It kind of takes
how bad I'm at this. I thought that Friday the 13th starred Freddy Krueger. So I thought you were defending the remake of.
No, I will never. I'll never. But the
Nightmare on Elm Street.
The Nightmare on Elm Street remake sucks. The Friday the 13th remake or reboot is really.
I did see that. I did
really enjoy that one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because again, I think it just clips through. It's just a much more condensed way to figure out it set up a universe that we never got, right? Like it just did a really good job of setting up Friday the 13th and getting you ready for a new Friday the 13th part 2 that we never got, and just got through all of the stuff that it took 4 movies to get to the first time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I did enjoy that movie. I would defend that.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. How would you so tell me about the town that tore itself apart. Tell me about that short, because I mean, there's the collection, which is a really cool idea that you're right. Like you really took it and ran with it. But the idea of a creep show style, framing narrative where in the end, the last story branched off from the framing narrative. That is something that we workshopped together and came up with. And you really did well with it and took the ball and ran, despite it being one of your first prose things you've ever written. It was done really, really well. 1 second, we've got an incoming human, and I'll ask you about your short story. We've got Kelley Power.
Kelley
Power.
Hey, Kelley.
Oh, Kelly's coming from her car.
Hello.
Are there dogs behind you?
What's that?
Is there a dog behind you?
There sure is.
Hello. Hi. Oh, he's great.
That's Rhodey. She's very excited. We're on our way to hike to take her for a walk.
Exciting.
Awesome. Have you gotten a chance to read the rest of Terra Nova yet, Kelley?
I did. I read it from front to back.
As is intended.
That's why we didn't put a contents in it.
That is the exact reason, to discourage people from jumping around and getting confused. Yeah,
no, I thought it was great. I got to the end. I got to your piece at the end there, Mike. I was like, that took a really dark turn.
Well, that's
as it should.
Yeah, it's kind of what we hope for with a horror story like that. So yeah,
it's interesting because I don't know you very well, but I know enough about you to know that you kind of live and breathe the horror world.
Mhm.
And I felt like your story was kind of a broader representation of someone who is in that space a whole lot more. Like some of the others of us went for spooky, we went for horror, we went for some gory sort of stuff. But I don't know, that struck me as a direction of like a quintessential horror movie. Occultish, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah,
It's neat.
definitely. It was really good. Yeah, no, Kelley, this your story was actually wonderful. Can I ask what like inspired it, foreshadows like that? Can you talk about it a little bit, because it was really good, and you write very good scary stuff. You were two from Chillers from the Rock too. You are the happiest, brightest, most beamy person in the world, if that's a word that I'm making a word now. And then when you write, it is straight up terrifying. It's wonderful. But tell me where the inspiration for Foreshadows came from.
I remember, I think it was, I was talking to you, Mike, at some Writers Alliance event, and we were talking about the story idea, and I thought The Hag of Bell Island was something that I had read about fairly recently, and I thought, I think I'd like to do that in a story. Thinking about all different elements for the Hag story, all of these other pieces just kept coming up that were very scary in their own right. I mean, I don't like deep water, for example, and shipwrecks really freak me out. So that element to me was very spooky. Swimming through the mines, the flooded mines that are down there, for example, which didn't make it into the story, but all of these bits and pieces kept coming together. It's like, I don't think I can limit myself to just one element for this particular story. And I had a conversation with, I think I mentioned at the reading, with Amanda Levante, and it's like, how do I take all these disparate pieces and put them together? And I need something that ties them, and that's where the idea of premonitions and a variety of supernatural or paranormal activities came together. So it was research, I guess, for the original story, just spun one into the next to the next.
The letter narration style of it, going back and forth from the letters to main narrative back to letters, was really effective. Like, it was just, you have a way of like just knowing the spooky way to do things, almost like you've been doing this your whole life. It's insane, really.
Well, thank you. that piece of it, again, kind of came out of that conversation about the story structure. And I'd say probably about 2 weeks to a month before I started writing, I just finished reading World War Z.
Oh, okay.
And if you've read World War Z, it has a very similar type of structure. You know, you're going from one piece, one perspective to the next, and thought I could borrow from that a little bit. I don't think Max Brooks would mind.
No, I don't think you can copyright a point of view for a story like that. Like, no one can do first person ever again. Yep. Oh my! So that's wonderful.
I'm really interested. I know.
Go on. You went into a tunnel.
All right.
I am here. I'm sorry. I was cutting one of you guys off there.
No, it was fine. I was just going to say that for me, it was when I first read your story, when we got it back, I was just like, oh, cool. All right. This is all dated like 6 years in the future. Going to be super easy to weave into this storytelling narrative of the bus tour. I was like, oh, great. No, it's like it's set in the future. This is great. This is not going to be hard at all. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Here we go.
Yeah. That line is copyrighted.
That one is. Yeah.
That one, listen, in 7 years, this book will make perfect sense and be contemporary. It'll be fine.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like if in 7 years that makes sense, I'm terrified.
Yeah. But so anyone who, actually not anyone who knows me, everyone will be surprised by this, but everyone has an irrational fear from childhood, like something like ghosts or this or that, like they're like still just a bit spooked by something that they watched a bit too early and it got in there. For me, it's chupacabras for some reason. I watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and your story freaked me out only because I went down the rabbit hole years back, researching chupacabras, and it turns out there's a chupacabra legend for Newfoundland that some of them made it here, and the legend goes that that's what the Bell Island hag really is a chupacabra. And so as soon as your story came across, I'm just sitting here like, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. I'm gonna sleep with the lights on. Kelley's scaring me again.
I remember you mentioned that to me when we were doing the podcast interview about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why. I think we just love saying like, oh, this thing that's native to a completely different area. No, we have that too. Yeah, we have a chupacabra. Sure, that's what's on Bell Island by. Yes, of course.
It's just like, yes. Who's chupacabra? That's is that the chupacabra from Bill's land, or is that the one that's over? Which chupacabra is that now?
Bill's chupacabra. Yes.
And also, what the hell would Newfoundlanders actually call a chupacabra? Like, what? How would we pronounce? Like, because for one, we wouldn't call it a chupacabra, and no, but like, what? Yeah.
Probably just skip the middle part. It's a chubra.
But there's got to be like chupacabra mummer story now. Like there's got to be a Paul Carberry story where they're on Bell Island and the evil mummers are there and they take off the hood and it turns out they're chupacabras.
Is a Newfoundland chupacabra actually what a chummy jigger is? Is that what a chummy jigger actually is? Is a Newfoundland chupacabra?
Okay, that's got to be in the next one. The chummy jiggers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Tommy Knockers or something. It's just the chummy jiggers.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh God. Yes. All right.
Such a weird panel. Amanda Levante is somewhere pulling out her hair, wondering how let us have a panel during
this opened with me cracking a beer and then being like, oh, I'm pouring it out because they're not sponsoring us, so I'm not showing the beer can on the and just devolved from there.
Despite me saying, okay, Mike, everything from this point on will be on on the live stream. I was like, cool. Let me get in one last comment that's not going to be on the live stream.
That was kind of the way it went down. Yeah.
I
got a question for Mike.
Okay.
Mike, the dates you had in your story about the closing of the mill in Grand Falls, they're roughly accurate, I would guess.
Yeah, the mill closed in February 2009. October 2009 would have been the 100th anniversary of the mill.
So I'm always interested in the idea of what the sort of collective community reaction something like that is, and we can roughly estimate it for Grand Falls. But then on the individual, like I imagine you never worked in the mill, but maybe you had parents, relatives that did work in it.
Yeah, I had my aunt actually was the mill manager secretary for she was she was the secretary of the mill manager for 10 years and had worked in the mill for years before that. I had other relatives that worked there as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we lost Kelley before we got to the last part of the question.
I think we did. We did.
I want to know what the last part of the question
is. Up on my nose here a little bit. Be like, am I still there?
You're back.
I'm back. I'm wondering if it was just, it's like, okay, the mill closed, and it'd be a really cool idea to integrate in that some way into my story, or was it more reflective, like this is the impact that this kind of stuff has? There is a kind of horror aspect of when a community's main source of activity shuts down. Was there something more to it when you wanted to play with that idea, or was it just like, no, totally cool, let's have this idea and the mill will be in it? Or was it like, no, I feel like I want to exercise something out of my system?
It was a bit of both. I was just getting ready to talk to Matt about this just before you came on. And what it is that it was a story that had been in my head for a long time, because what I describe in the story actually happened. There were a bunch of buildings around Grand Falls that were just there for years, and they were there and they were abandoned and they were derelict and they were just sitting there for years. And at some point they all just started going away very quickly. There was an old school that was abandoned for decades, and then it got torn down in the mid 90s. There was another old school that was there for a long time, became the YMCA for a long time. It got abandoned. It sat abandoned for years and then got torn down. There was literally there's a gas station that's referenced in the story that when I moved out of Grand Falls, I gassed up the rental of the U-Haul at that gas station. And when I came back a month later for my grandfather's funeral, it was a parking lot. It was like torn down and gone. So it was just something where there was a real interest to me, where all these buildings got torn down in what seemed like a very expedited manner after people didn't give a shit about them for a very long time. And then that tied into the fact that when Abitibi did go out of business, the mill was like repatriated. Like the government said, like, no, you're not allowed to have these assets. And it actually got tied up in a legal thing for years where the building just wasn't allowed to be torn down. And so after all these buildings in Grand Falls went through all this trouble to tear down everything right away, all of a sudden the biggest building in town that was the epicenter of the community was just sitting there empty, and they weren't allowed to tear it down. And so that's kind of been that, like, something to do with that has been picking at my head for a very long time about how to kind of find something with that. And it felt like this kind of folk horror thing to me about how like this community was trying to, do something to kind of maintain the greater good and the status quo and what was there. And the fact that it was 100 years and like, it was literally like almost 100 years and just kind of came short of it. All those things just seemed really coincidental to me, and just something that really could easily be played with in the horror setting. And so that's kind of where that story jumped off from. And as I was saying, it was something that I had been sitting on for a long time, trying to figure out how to tie it all and bring it all together at the end. And luckily, Grand Falls is doing good. Like the town has, they found their place after the mill shut down. And so, you don't have to necessarily worry about any kind of, I don't want to say anything in case anybody's watching the panel that hasn't read the book yet, but I don't want to give any too many spoilers, but it seems like the town's doing all right.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. That's actually kind of positive for right now, because kind of like during COVID, we're all going through a thing like that, and it's nice to know that like, oh, there's hope on the other side of like economic collapse and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
not to be a downer.
No, but yeah, no. But again, it was literally just a thing where like I literally saw my hometown get torn down, like all these buildings that kind of gave the old downtown character and had just been there for a long time. It just seemed like somebody got a bug up their arse about it and started tearing them all down really fast. And it was just kind of like, and then all of a sudden the mill wasn't allowed to be torn down, and it kind of felt like that would upset somebody, that they couldn't do it with that building, and what could all of it mean. And I mean, I literally, there's a lot of that story that's like very much real in terms of like how I like to pop down to that old cemetery after I go see a horror movie and things like that. Like there is an old cemetery down there that reminds me of that old song Skin and Bones. Hi, Allie, how you doing?
Hi,
well,
how's it going?
Kelley, you are more than welcome to stick around, but on the off chance that you are at your destination, because it looks like your background stopped moving or anything like that, you have yourself a wonderful day. We loved your story in Terra Nova and in Chillers from the Rock. Please keep writing horror. The horror community demands it.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys. And thanks for inviting me to be part of the book. I mean, it's amazing. And you guys are doing so much work around it and promoting it. It's just a really fun project to be part of. Thanks. See you later. See you, Allie.
Thanks so much. Have a fun hike.
Thank you.
Bye, Rhodey.
So, as we said, we have Allie House now, who has written for every Engine anthology ever, including her own book of short stories.
Including the ones published before I knew about it.
What?
Including all the anthologies published before I knew Engine existed.
They're out of print. They don't count now. Everyone that's currently in print, let's say, I guess, put it that way. What was the name? I'm trying to look for it now, and I'm being horrible. What was the name of your story from Terra Nova?
The House on River Run Road.
Awesome. So
Also
you're a very storied short story author. You've been in everything, from the Rocks, Blue Nose Paradox, doesn't exist anymore, light bulb forest. You're just in everything. When Mike and I came with the idea for this, I was like, well, I've got to put Allie in it because she'll kill me if I don't let her into it.
Yeah.
Like there'll be a
I
real
got swords.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the guy that like blows a perfect game here, where you're just like you're in everything. You don't want to just not. You don't want to be that umpire who like called that guy safe when he was clearly out on the 27th out of a perfect game for that kid.
No.
Yeah,
you
I feel
don't-
like I feel like Matt is not big on baseball, and he's just like, sure, whatever you say, Mike.
Yeah, whatever. Like you don't want to be the umpire that says that the goal didn't go through the touchdown loop and then everyone's on the bases loaded.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Allie, your story is fantastic.
Thank you.
And what was really fun, what I really loved about it too was that I'm very much a pantser. And anybody who is watching that isn't a writer might not know the term pantser, but it means that I don't outline very well. And even though I had all these stories, I was very much going off the seat of my pants as I was trying to connect them all. And I had just made the jokes, just made some references just before Joshua Gowdy's story, Lunacy, about how like they couldn't possibly be in Trinity already just based on the time that's gone on. And then your stories in Deer Lake, and it just gave me a perfect opportunity to make fun of Gander a lot. And I can't thank you enough for that.
Oh, well, you're very welcome.
It just worked out really well. Like that was the way I kind of had it mapped out. And I was just like, okay, and this can go. And then it didn't occur to me until I had made like all those references to the time. And then I was like, okay. And after her story, everyone's like, oh, we better not be in Deer Lake. And I'm like, no, but they're in Gander. And then I can make fun of Gander because I'm from Grand Falls and I really want to make fun of Gander in my book. So it was great. So thank you for that. But you're from Deer Lake originally?
Yeah, I'm from Deer Lake originally, and I definitely used a place in Deer Lake to kind of inspire where I set the house, which was a lot of fun. I'm missing Deer Lake.
Is it like, were you ever like, what is it like a house that you like grew up thinking was haunted and was like a weird space that way?
No, it was, well, I lived in a couple places around Deer Lake, and one of the areas that I lived in is very close to that. So there's a bridge that goes across, and the bridge is actually only wide enough for one car to go through at a time. So
Okay.
you have to kind of like pull up and then pull aside if somebody else is going through.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this just long road down by a river that just keeps going and going and going. And you can only have neighbors on either side of you. You can't have anyone in front of you. So it seemed very isolating and kind of a place where you could set somebody where they're still in a town, but they're not immediately close to a lot of things.
Yeah. It kind of has that like a Woman in Black vibe where it's that place where like the tide goes up and down, you know?
Yeah. Can't get out.
Yeah, it's just and that idea of isolation is just something, especially when you're talking about a ghost story, because yours is probably, and again, I'm trying not to spoil too much for anybody who hasn't read the book yet, because I'm hoping anybody who's watching this is going, these people are so entertaining, I must go out and buy their book. But yours is probably the truest, like the one that's like the most just like true ghost story in the whole collection. Like everybody else kind of has hints of there's obviously paranormal aspects and stuff, but yours is, I think, the one that's the most just like straightforward ghost story, kind of haunted house thing. And it's a lot of fun that way. And that isolation really adds to the feeling of it.
Yeah, I find that there's something really scary about something that really could actually happen to a person. Like it could happen at any time. There's not like anything super, super scary, like something that seems way too supernatural. Sorry if words failing, but yeah, I like something that's sort of grounded a bit in reality. So you just know, like, oh God.
Yeah, there's something about a haunted house story that when it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts, you know, that has that, like, it's just a whole lot of things that just make you super uneasy, as opposed to just, I saw a friggin' ghost in the corner. It's just like, no, but like this thing moved when it shouldn't have. And
Boo!
you know, like there's a whole bunch of stuff there with a haunted house story that's just really fun that way.
Well, if you were paying attention earlier, Allie lives in a creepy place because it's always noon where she's living. It just like the gun shoots noon all the time. She lives in a place that's always noon. The town that was always noon.
Matt, no one laughed.
Like cowboys are just always fighting.
Why are you trying to bring it back now?
Cowboys
If
are
anyone
just
laughs,
always
it's
fighting.
from pity.
It's like, yeah, no, there's a gun.
Laugh reaction.
If you guys, I don't know if you guys follow it, but you can follow the Halifax, like the noon gun on Twitter, and just every day in our case 12:30, it just tweets boom, and it's the best thing. It's like one of the best Twitter accounts. Literally, it's just every day at 12:30, it just tweets. Well, noon in Halifax, it tweets boom, and it's just the best thing.
It's great.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd like it if it put like a little like 2-second clip of the boom or whatever it was. So I'm assuming it's blanks and they're not just like firing cannons out onto like the city or something.
I mean, nobody can know for sure.
Yeah,
They might
maybe that's
end
what
up
happened to
with
the
a
crane
harbor.
last year.
There was a hole in downtown Halifax for a really long time, and I think that's what caused it. Was just like all the cannon fire.
Yep.
alley starting crap. Whenever something happens in Halifax, I just like, oh man, what alley do now? Sorry.
What didn't I do?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, we had a fun time up on Word on the Street. We get into lots of mischief. It's tons of fun.
Yeah, and the Halifax Citadel
And by
was
mischief,
doing
I mean
ghost
we
tours a
ate
little
food.
while ago, so that was fun.
Oh,
And they've got like
they did-
ghost. Sorry.
I was just gonna say they did the ghost tour this year.
Yeah, they reopened the ghost tour in late mid-September, I think, and I jumped on that. I was like, I need to get into this because I love ghost tours, and it was really fun to just like
Late
wander around the citadel.
mid-September, but also noon.
Yeah, no, I've never done the Halifax one. I've done like all the haunted hikes here in St. John's. I did the one, there's a one in Boston I did through Boston Common, and I did the ghost bus tour in Dublin, and that's what inspired the bus from Terra Nova.
Okay, the ghost bus tour sounds
Yeah.
way too much like Ghostbuster.
I know, and it's brilliant. I love it. But it's very much, it's a double-decker bus. The bottom is set up as a haunted house. The top is set up like this weird parlor, and a guy comes up and like leads you on all these stories. He tells so many on the bus. He tells so many down in different places. It's very much, I can't remember, like it was this guy, Vincent was my host, and I remember him being like, make sure to like leave a thing on TripAdvisor. And I'm like, I don't know if I did, but I just wrote a friggin' book about it. So 5 stars. Here we go.
Yeah, I never got the chance to go on that when I was in Dublin, but I saw it and was just like, oh, this looks fun.
It's so much fun. I can't recommend it enough. Like, again, I basically wrote a book about it. It's so much fun. There was one story I remember that was like this kind of werewolf story that they take you down in the, they take you down through these like old crypts and like catacombs under a church, and they actually have a dude in a mask jump out at you, and it's so fun. It's so cool.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, it's super fun. But I also did the Irish Writers Pub Crawl, which is also super fun, where you start and you go through Dublin and like Temple Bar, and you go to all the different places that like all these different Irish authors drank at.
None of this sounds
And they
like
tell you
fun.
stories, and they reenact parts of, like, it opens with 2 guys like at this place literally called the Duke. And I feel like it's the Duke, and it's on a Duckworth Street kind of thing. Like, it's so much like the Duke. And it's 2 guys who like do a scene from Waiting for Godot, and like just that's how it sets up. And then they take you all through Dublin. It's so fun. You go through Trinity College, and they tell you stuff on the campus. It's great. It's so fun. But I did 2 one walking tour and the bus tour, and the bus tour inspired a whole book.
That none of that sounds fun, Mike. That sounds
so much fun.
horrible.
It sounds so like you just released a book about one of those things. Like, how do you not think it's fun?
I know. Sounds like something Allie would think it was super fun.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I did a Jack the Ripper tour when I was in England one time.
That's awesome. Through like Whitechapel and the actual spots.
Oh yeah, we went through all the spots, and the guy who led the tour was actually like, he's the guy who wrote the book
A murder victim?
Jack the Ripper. No, what? But yeah, the guy leading the tour, he basically wrote this huge book on Jack the Ripper, and he knew everything about the time, so you could ask him all these questions. And we wandered all around the area to different like spots where people were found, and it was late at night, so it was terrifying but so informative.
So cool.
That sounds
I want to do that
horrible.
one. I want to do that so bad.
Allie, you've got to go do the double-decker one. Then it'll just be like research. So it'll be like a certain amount deductible. You know, you're fine then.
Exactly. As soon as I can get back to Dublin, I'm doing that.
Yeah. And
so never
bring them a copy of Terra Nova and be like, some people in Newfoundland wrote a book.
Yeah.
Because they love your tour so much. Here you go.
Yeah.
Don't
Please
sue
write
us.
a review on TripAdvisor.
Yeah. I think it's in I think I made that joke in the foreword too, where I'm just like, yeah, like I don't think I reviewed them on Yelp, but oh man, I wrote a book. So
that's the thing.
It's like there was 150 word limit on Yelp, so here's a novel.
Just like the entire book, but 150 words at a time, just going.
Yeah. And then they're like, why is this all
Next
about
post.
Newfoundland? What's this pub? What's going on? Why is this?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Awesome. What's next from you, Allie? Next
Actually, a scary story.
Oh.
The variety show, but it's set in a theater.
Yeah, it's very Phantom of the Opera from what I heard from our interview earlier.
Yeah, it's independent theater, which is scary because you never have enough funding. And it's Phantom of the Opera, and it's in your universe, which I took over. Haha.
Yeah. It's now yours. Yeah. As with everything, like From the Rock, mine now. Terra Nova, mine now. Engine Universe, haha, mine now.
Oh yeah, if I don't make it into mythology, I'm gonna feel so disappointed in myself.
Yeah. Well, no one wants to be that umpire, so we'll see what
No
happens.
one wants to blow that perfect game on you, so it's gonna happen. Like any sort of short story collection you're in.
You know what? I will take that. I will take fear over talent.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's afraid of you, so yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's like, Allie's here. What's happening? Well, this was a fun panel, guys. Allie, thank you for dropping in. Mike, we're almost at time. The next panel starts basically immediately this one ends, so I'm gonna give us a little bit of leeway, even though it's not quite 4, if that's okay with you. So I can set up the
I'm
next
gonna
one.
pitch a fit about this. No, it's fine. I gotta go like throw some carrots in boiling water. It's good. It's good.
All right, Allie, thank you so much for joining us and for the story and for everything you do. You're an amazing writer. Mike, thank you actually, this is our newest writer, or the person newest on our team to writing, and our oldest writer, or our most experienced writer, or whatever you
Oh
want
God,
to
I
say.
might be oldest.
Yeah,
I'm up. I'm close. I don't know, because you went to school with Scott, right? And,
yeah, I was a year under Scott.
Yeah, and I think I'm younger than Scott. Because we have mutual friends. We have a bunch of mutual friends that we discovered through promoting this book. And so I think a year. I think
this is a scintillating conversation.
Yeah, no, it is.
But you have
Also,
yourself
shout out
a
to
I'm just
Josh
watching
and
this and
Scott.
going like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me right now. And Joss and Scott are just like freaking out in Bishops right now and having a really good time.
freaking out. All right. Well, everyone, check out Terra Nova. It is on sale now. It's getting wonderful reviews and everything like that. 12 wonderful authors, including these two and the other two that were on the stream earlier. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Mike. Have yourselves a great day and a great Thanksgiving weekend, and I'll see you both soon.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving and Halloween.